everybody, welcome back to the Smallville 20th anniversary celebration on my channel. We are going to be doing a big Smallville video at the end of this year. I've already done a video essay. We've already reviewed almost all of the seasons. Back with me again is my cousin Pat Guy to review season 9 of Smallville. Pat, how are you doing this
I'm
time?
doing great, Alex. I'm happy to be here talking about one of my favorite seasons of Smallville.
You mean the season where everybody created music videos to Zod with that Breaking Benjamin song? I
Yeah.
will not bow.
Yeah, yeah. It was an interesting time.
I I forget I don't even know if I said this in a video or on one of the reviews that we did. I think I said season 10 was my favorite season, but the past few days I actually rewatched a few episodes from 9, and I think nine's better than 10.
I think
I think
9
best
is
season.
definitely more consistent than 10
Yeah.
as far as
Ten's more like satisfactory, I think, just because
yeah,
it's finally like, oh good, like he's becoming Superman. But now but 9 I think honestly has like the better plot, like better episodes.
yeah,
Not as many filler episodes as 10 either. 10 I think that was the thing that brought 10 down, but we'll get there when we talk about 10. I mean 9 just seemed like it had more of a focus, I feel like.
agreed.
And even the filler episodes in 9 were ended up being very important, which is
Yeah,
strange.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on season 9?
Season 9, like I said, one of my favorite seasons. I don't know if it's my favorite like you. I love a lot of it. At the time, I remember really enjoying it a lot. I like where Clark goes in this, where he goes on a bit darker of a path. I feel
Yeah.
like they kind of redeemed the way 8 ended, because like as much as I hated the Clark Kent is dead and like walking
Yeah.
away, like they made it work in the plot of this one where he's like doing his own thing and he's wearing like the black with the silver S, which is like a cool nod to like when he was actually resurrected after Doomsday
Yeah.
in the comics, and obviously in the Snyder version of the Justice League in the movies. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like 9 is it's a darker season. It's a bit more. There's not as much levity in 9.
Right.
It's still there, but they go a lot of dark places. Like the Metallo episode in particular sticks out as being pretty dark. Rabbit is like a zombie episode. You get like that one when we'll get to it in the episodes, I'm sure, but the one when Zod gets like shot because Kandorians are getting like abducted and their brains
Yeah.
are getting like carved into.
Yep. That
uh,
one's a good one. That was
there's
a
like a
real
lot of dark stuff. But
dude.
it's an intense season
Dude,
for
the
sure.
thing is too is it's like 8 setups. So like you had some like setups for season eight's finale in terms of where they were gonna go with 9. You had Lois taking the Legion ring and getting teleported. What was it? 3 weeks into the future,
I think
or
so.
no, a year into the future. But she was gone 3 weeks.
That's right.
That was it. That was
Yep.
it. Then you had the whole like Clark Kent is dead thing, and then you have like Zod. Like Zod showed up at the end of season 8, and I remember at the time we were both just like
Who cares?
Zod again.
Yeah.
Like we're just like
Oh, up to do. Put him in the Phantom Zone.
Whoop-de-doo! What does it all mean, Basil?
I remember we were just like, man, like we already did Zod. Like, do we have to do Zod again? But like, dude, Callum, however the hell you say his name, Callum Blue, he was a great Zod, dude. Wasn't he the guy I used to love to imitate?
Yes, he was. Yeah, he used to imitate him all the time. The bleh. Every
Why should they trust you?
I feel like you could take a shot in this season in particular. The amount of times they say the blah, the blah, the
Or
blah.
the RAO.
Yeah, or RAO or Candor or
Yeah.
Kandorians. Yeah, I mean, I thought, like you said, the end of 8 wasn't very exciting. I remember.
No.
I remember because
It was all just set up.
yeah, and I remember being. I mean, obviously, I had the rant last video on the finale of 8. I was not a fan of the end of 8, and
Yeah, you did.
it didn't excite me for 9. Really, I was kind of like, well, I don't really care about
I feel
Zod
like
again.
maybe that's why you didn't like the whole Zod thing, because I don't think you were necessarily against it. I just think you already hated the episode, or was like, why?
Yeah, it was like I was already disappointed, and then like you had the Zod ending, and it was like supposed to be this big moment, and I was kind of like, we've already kind of done this, like whatever,
Yeah.
and like why should I care? Because you're just gonna screw it up like you did at the end with Doomsday.
Yeah.
Um,
Luckily, they didn't.
no, yeah, and I mean Zod
And I
as a
thought they
villain.
were going to. Remember?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
I'll
Zod
get
as a villain.
I'll get into that when we get to Salvation, but
I thought he was a great bad guy. I thought Callum Blue, like he gets into like the like he's very very like intentionally doing a Terrence Stamp impression.
yeah.
Like he's trying to bring that like near before Zod, like that whole like that whole vibe, and he does a really good job of bringing that vibe. Like I'm like, yeah, this is younger General Zod. Hell yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And like he's not trying to be. It's like a little over the top, like
Who
but like
cares?
it works. It's like
Yeah.
because obviously Terrence Stamp was over the top in Superman
Yeah,
2,
exactly.
and it works because it's like he just brings that feeling that I have watching Superman 2, where I'm like, this guy's just a crazy lunatic who thinks he's like a fascist leader. Where it's like a little bit different of a vibe with like say Michael Shannon's Zod,
Right.
who I mean,
will find him.
I will find him. I will find him. It's like get the Codex, Cal. Like he's fine. Like I like Michael Shannon in a lot of things. It's not one of my favorite roles of his. But like he was fine, but he wasn't as memorable as like Terrence Stamp.
Right.
And I like that Callum Blue tried to kind of bring that. But they also, because we're spending so much more time with him and he's a younger Zod, you see more layers to him.
Yeah.
You
He has
definitely,
this like weird like relationship with Tess.
yeah.
I was using our considerably evolved intelligence to make Luther Corp the most technologically advanced company on Earth.
The question is, what do you want in return?
Someone who betrayed us. The one you called the Blur.
I'm flattered you think of all the people on this planet that I'd know how to find the blur, but,
You disappoint me, Tess. But I'll play your game. The Blur's blood was used as an antidote to a virus that swept through Metropolis weeks ago. We were able to get a sample of that blood. We took it to the lab to be tested. Instead, every last drop had been destroyed. At your request.
what are you talking about?
Since you chose to destroy the Blur's blood samples, I'm guessing you're trying to protect him. Maybe for some altruistic reasons. Or maybe you want us to use him as a bargaining chip.
I helped free your people from that orb because I'd hoped you'd save humanity from itself.
There's like a serious like tension going on, and that eventually leads to something brief, and then also violence later. Yeah, he's a good bad guy. He was very different from like Lex or
Yeah.
Doomsday or even Brainiac. Like he had a different vibe, and
Yeah.
because he was like a younger clone of Zod, I liked that better. Where
Mhm.
it's like you had the whole idea of like maybe we could change him, and he doesn't become that crazy Phantom from season 6. You know, like
Yeah.
I don't know. I liked what they did with Zod a lot. He was a huge highlight of the season for me
Yeah,
when he was first coming out.
I've got 2 extra thoughts to add. So we're gonna stick with Zod for a minute. I
Mhm.
just love just like how dark they made him. Like you fail this guy, you die.
You will get beheaded by a sword that he's
Yeah.
holding behind his back.
Yeah, exactly.
Or he will yell at you to kneel, and if you don't kneel, he's gonna like kill you.
Yeah, this is, and then my other point was going to be too that this is, I believe, this is the first and only season that has no involvement from Lex whatsoever. I believe.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the only thing you get is like Oliver hallucinating him one time.
Yeah,
Like even then, it's just a quick flash of like a
yeah,
bald guy
dude.
that's
We
not
get
Rosenbaum.
before we get into the episode by episode breakdown, we got to talk about Oliver Queen this season. Man, is he in some dark places?
Yeah,
Abusing drugs, burning
yeah.
his Green Arrow suit.
Yeah, Oliver had a rough time in 9, which I liked a lot. I mean, he kind
Yeah,
of started that in 8 after he killed Lex.
yeah,
But I mean, it's cool because when he was just like, like a guest star and he'd show up, he was cool and he obviously had
right,
some anger issues sometimes. But you really got to have like longer storylines with him once he was a series regular.
yeah.
And I thought 9, that whole first chunk of it where he's like in a fighting ring in like the underground somewhere.
You're a mess.
Yeah. Why don't you just come out with it, Lois?
I'm disappointed.
There you go. So you sound like every other ex-girlfriend I ever had.
Yes, but I'm not like every other ex you've had.
You're not. Can't seem to get you back in my bed.
Look, you know what? You can't fool me. You risk your life to help strangers so you can plaster that frat boy grin across your face. But I know that you're a real hero under me.
Look, Lois, when are you gonna learn? Okay, I'm nothing more than a shallow playboy. I got the tabloid covers to prove it.
Then how do you explain the whole Green Arrow thing?
The hero thing kind of distracted me for a little while. So did you. Ow, ow, ow!
You're an obnoxious jackass.
There you go, see? Now you're finally starting to catch on.
He's fighting zombies with a shotgun while drunk and and then there's that whole episode where he's like going through like this like mind game to like wake him up to be Green Arrow again.
Yeah.
uh
I mean, I couple that along with the fact with like when you look at where Clark is too, it's like season 9, like there's a reason the DVD cover is black for a reason because it is a dark season, and like, dude, I just love how much of 9, or at least in terms of like Oliver's story, Clark not so much because it seems like once he gets together with Lois, that's where things start to kind of turn around for him.
yeah.
But like the first few episodes of 9, Clark and especially Oliver, like the thing I love about 9 that I think puts it over 10 for me is the fact that you are literally looking at two broken people. Like they have just
and Chloe too.
yeah, and Chloe, yeah, like Clark has literally given up on his human side. Like he no longer believes in his human side. He's like, I'm still gonna go out and save people, but like Clark Kent is no longer like a person.
Yeah, he's like the blah full time.
Exactly. And then I mean you see, like I said, you see Oliver abusing drugs, like just getting drunk and burning his Green Arrow suit, and
Chloe's just hanging out in like the watchtower.
yeah, like because doesn't she
24/7.
say she even tries to like contact Clark or something? He like blows her off or something.
Yeah, she says, yeah, because obviously she's upset about Jimmy and the role she
Yeah.
played, where she
Yeah.
pretty much caused his death.
I know she pretty much did.
But yeah, I like a lot in this season. I think Tess, this kind of starts her like redemption arc towards the end.
Yeah, they did
yeah.
something. They did something interesting with Lois too, at least for the first half of the season, because
Yeah.
she got transported like a year into the future. Like she
Mhm.
starts having like these hallucinations. So like all of a sudden she'll just be like talking, and then she'll just be like,
And so we having like shots of her and Clark
Yeah.
holding each other, and the sun is red, and you're
Yeah.
like, "What the hell's going on?"
oh, dude, remember when they did that in like the premiere, and then like a few episodes later, we're just like, what the hell is that?
I just thought it was interesting. The whole time travel thing I thought was interesting.
Yeah, it was. It was really interesting. I also love that assassin that comes after Lois. I forget
Oh.
her name. Isn't it like Aaliyah or something?
Something. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. She's not like a major character, even when
No.
you get around to seeing who she is, she's not that major.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked a lot of the season. I mean, then you got the middle like movie two-parter.
Yeah, Absolute Justice.
which
Which is one episode on the DVD, and I'll forever be pissed at them because that, you know what that means? that broke up the one-word episodes, but
Yeah, because what was it? It was originally like
it was Society and Legends.
Legends, and yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
that's what I still consider them as. So
I mean, it's just cool because back then that was such a big thing as like a comic guy. They introduced so many comic things, and like, yeah,
and Dr. Fate,
some of it looks hokey, sure, but like that
oh,
was kind of the
Icicle Man.
point. Yeah, but it was fun. Like, it was a fun comic booky. Like, I liked all
Yeah.
the lore and the, yeah, I don't know.
It was written
Season
by
9
Jeff Johns back when he wasn't an asshole.
Yeah, yeah, back before he like, whatever happened to him, man? He should have just stuck with writing comic books and stuff.
I know.
Um, yeah, season 9 is definitely one of the strongest. I love
Yeah.
the finale, especially because unlike season 8, it sticks the landing.
Yeah, it
It's
does.
like it sets up something, and you go and you go and you're waiting for the big Zod versus Clark confrontation, and
Yeah.
finally it comes in the
Okay.
finale.
I'm just gonna say it now because I can't hold off on. Dude, remember when like that episode aired and they were like, yeah, we know fans were pissed about like season 8, so like this is gonna be a huge makeup for them. And then literally 2 minutes left to go until like 9 o'clock. And I was like, wait a minute, the Kandorians are like leaving. Where's the fight that they promised us?
Yeah, I
was
remember we
ready
even
to
saw
punch-
pictures.
I was ready to punch my TV, and then Zod just whips out the blue kryptonite knife. He's like, "You say," I forget what he says. It's something like
Since you love the humans so much, let's see if you fight like one.
and that fight's actually really good.
I love that. But I mean, I think they were smart because obviously, and this is probably what messed up the Doomsday fight, but they had a very limited budget at the time.
Yeah,
And I thought they were smart to like remove the powers from the fight like
Right.
immediately and
Yeah.
just have it be two guys just kicking the crap out of each other like Lethal Weapon
in the
style
rain,
in
dude.
the rain.
I just love like the orange like color palette in that.
Oh
scene.
yeah, I love
It's
because
amazing.
you got the yellow light from like the Book of Rao thing,
Yeah,
and then you got the blue kryptonite knife, and then you got Zod's red shirt,
yeah,
and then everything else is just black.
it's
And
amazing.
I really like that. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's a neat visual aesthetic.
Yeah, I love that whole finale. We'll get to it more later, but yeah, I thought this season automatically has the edge over 8 because it didn't just completely fumble everything in the last episode.
Yeah, dude, like I said, I think this is like looking at all of them. I think this is my favorite season.
It's definitely up there. It'd be tough for me. I love season 2, and
I think
I-
two's right. Two, I think I go 9, 10, and then 2.
yeah,
Those are definitely my top 3.
yeah.
Episode by episode.
Let's do it.
All right. All right. So the premiere was called Savior, which is a great premiere. Really love this premiere. We see Lois come back from the future. So she ends up on the monorail and then it crashes. Clark saves her, and that's where you see Ollie in like the underground like Fight Club.
Yeah, yeah. I like the premiere. I mean, I remember thinking like being a little confused when it first aired because you don't know at first like who exactly Zod and his people are. Like you're
Yeah.
not really sure what the circumstances are because they don't know why they're there and they don't know why they don't have powers and like there's a lot of mystery at first.
Yeah.
So at first I'm like, what the hell are these people doing here? Like, what's even going on? But like eventually it all made sense.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the premiere a lot. It set up a lot of interesting at like the time travel questions, things like that.
Yeah. It was one of my favorite premieres the show has had.
As-
The show's mostly really good with its premieres.
Oh yeah, I remember the training sequence of Clark falling off the Statue of Liberty to fly.
Yes. 2 was Metallo.
Oh, this was a great episode.
Dude, like I know they
I
brought
love-
in, they brought in Brian Austin Green to play John Corbin.
Yeah,
Dude, another Superman. What do you call it? Superman villain that they brought in.
yeah.
like,
I mean,
crazy.
I was really excited when they said Metallo was going to be in the show because Metallo, like I know him really well from the '90s Superman cartoon,
Mhm.
where he was voiced by Malcolm McDowell, and yeah,
Just
and he was.
parent stamp.
He was like this like kind of more of a like a gangster type of guy, but there's a lot of really good episodes with Metallo, and then when the show did him, I thought they did a really good job of making it like super tragic, and like you just met this guy in the premiere and he was like a douche, but I still felt bad for him.
Yeah.
And then they actually were really brutal with like the way it looked.
Yeah,
Like,
dude.
I was like, ow, like I don't hate that.
It looked like Tony Stark, but like more
Worse.
like worse.
It was
Dude,
like
the only
someone who didn't have Tony Stark's genius just put a bunch of metal shit together.
Okay, cooler heads, people. Just gonna trauma panel UA typing across the floor. I want more film on his chest and arms.
I'm Dr. Hamilton. You are?
I'm in a nightmare. Look at me.
Okay, I'll roll it out.
that person definitely did not love him 3000.
No.
Dude, the one thing I think about too when I think of this episode, when I just see the name Metallo, I just think of the Superman Returns game. Metallo, I'm here to stop you.
Metallo, stand down, now.
When I heard you were back in town, I got here as soon as I could.
Oh my god, I've tried to forget about that game. Yeah, I thought this was
64.
I thought this was a great episode though. I always remember really liking it. And I loved, I thought he was a good bad guy. Like you understood why he hated the Blur. You understood his relationship with Lois was interesting. And I was hoping he was going to be a bigger part of the season, and we'll get to it. But
I kind of figured he was only going to be like a 2 or 3 episode arc type.
But,
Because I was like once they brought in Zod in season 8, I was like they're setting up Zod to be the main villain. Like if they were going to set up Metallo to be the main villain, I feel like they would have done that in 8.
Yeah.
I mean, unless if they wanted to make him like a side villain for.
I thought he could have been that. Eventually, kind of, when we get to Upgrade, but I feel like they kind of blew his return. Because I thought they set up some interesting stuff and some easy ways for him to be put into the overall story. Like the fact that the Kandorians were the ones that did that to him.
Yeah.
And then that never gets brought up when he comes back. And he's in the same 5 feet away from Zod. Zod should be like, oh yeah, you're that guy that we experimented on.
Yeah.
But it was a great episode. I just wish that I wish it led somewhere better in the future.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that with Upgrade.
Yeah. 3 was Rabid. This is the zombie one.
Yeah, a very weird one.
But a very fun one though.
Yeah, it's fun. It's weird but fun.
Yeah.
I'll never forget Oliver coming in to save Lois with the shotgun and the leather jacket.
It's pouring his heart out to her, and Clark's like, don't let her fall asleep.
And when Clark is holding on to Lois and there's the Cure rain raining down.
It's okay. You're gonna be alright. Lois?
Clark, what happened?
We made it.
And she's like, ah! And she's got black goop,
Dude,
and he's like,
the ending of this episode though.
Yeah, with Zod.
Yeah, with the doctor, it's like, oh wait, we created this virus to draw out the Blur.
Alex, do you know who that doctor is?
Oh god, I should know this, right?
He's also a doctor in Supernatural. He was the
I
Leviathan.
was just saying, he was in Supernatural, right?
He was the Leviathan doctor who got bibbed.
I think this is when season 7 of no.
No, it was a couple years before. This was during season 5 of Supernatural.
Okay. Yeah, so it was almost there with
That was a damn good season of TV.
I know, right? I think
Season 9 of Smallville, followed by season 5 of Supernatural.
aired them back to the good old days, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rewatch Smallville soon. You know what I think I'm gonna do when I get to season 5?
What's
I think I'm gonna pair it with season 1 of Supernatural.
that? Just recreate those nights.
Yes, man. Ooh, 4 is Echo.
Yeah.
It's a decent one. It's a weird one though, because it's like Jor-El temporarily gives Clark like telepathy powers.
Well, yeah, he like stops a bomb.
Yeah.
And then as part of his training, he has to like understand people more. So he like starts to be able to read people's minds.
Yeah.
Which is funny. And then Toyman comes back, which I like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a solid one. It's a solid episode.
Yeah. It's not like one of my favorites. 5 is Roulette. I don't really remember Roulette all that much.
That's where Oliver is being put through all these like tests and stuff. And then like he wakes up in a coffin that says like Lex Luthor.
Oh, I can't remember that. Is that the one that like isn't Roulette called like isn't that like the name of the casino or something?
It's the name of a character. She's a woman who is like running these things, but then at the end it turns out it's Oliver. I mean, it's Chloe who did this.
That's right.
To inspire him to be Green Arrow again. Yeah, it's an interesting one.
6 is Crossfire.
Crossfire, I remember, is like that's an episode where there's like 5 different things happening at once, and there's no real main plot. Like it's like
because you have Speedy and Oliver, and
right.
then, like that's like the B plot. I think the A plot of the episode is really just like Clark and Lois like trying to like, or like Clark trying to help Lois like be a news anchor on like Good Morning Metropolis.
Yes, I forgot about that part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like, but like they won't take her unless it like Clark is an anchor with her.
Yeah, because they like the chemistry. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you got this is the episode 2 where Zod introduces his whole idea for like the tower. Like
so it's like everything's
the solar
like
tower.
And he do it to test too?
Yeah, he like shows up at like a Luthor Corp like banquet or whatever.
That's what I love about Zod though. Like in this season, like they'll put him in the most random episodes that you think have nothing to do with the season, and then just because he's there, holy shit! Like the plot's like being progressed in an episode where it doesn't feel like it should be. Mm-hmm. There's also like I think this is also like one of those episodes too where people think that this show gets like way too like cutesy sometimes. I think with like the whole like, oh, like there's not like a good like opening before the credits, or just I'm like it is what it is, like you can't. Yeah, some of it's cheesy, but
oh yeah sure. Yeah. But I mean, different time, and also like it didn't like I feel like that worked for this show sometimes. Right. Like it's a show about Superman. You can be a little bit cheesy, a little bit hokey.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be super serious all the time.
Right. 7's a good one. Kandor.
Oh yeah, Kandor was like, oh hey, those questions you have about Zod and the Kandorians? Here is all the answers.
Yeah, I watched it the other day, so I should remember. I'm pretty sure it's a giant like flashback episode too.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of Zod flashbacks on Krypton.
Yeah.
Where his son dies in an explosion, like during a war. And he's like, Jor-El, like you're having this clone project, bring my son back. And Jor-El's like, no. Yeah. And they explain like, I remember there's a shot where like Jor-El's standing in front of like the crystal that made the fortress and the orb that like made the Kandorian. Well, the Kandorians were like in, which is supposed to kind of be like the bottle city of Kandor from the comics. But like that orb, man, like as like
it's been through like 3 seasons now,
and it did different things in like every season. Like the first time it was introduced was in season 7.
Yeah,
during the whole Veritas thing, and like Lex gets the orb, and they say, "Oh, if you have the orb, you can control the Traveler." Turns out not to be true. It takes away the powers of the Traveler. And they sort of explain that in this by going like, in this episode, they're like, oh yeah, we infused it with blue kryptonite. I'm like, okay. And then it's like, oh yeah, but
why
also
would they do that though?
When it comes back in season 8 and like Tess gets it, they're like, oh yeah, also this orb contains a whole civilization. I'm like, okay. Like, it's just like all of these things, and then this episode, they're like, yeah, we're gonna put the clones in, and there's blue kryptonite. I'm like, okay, yes, thank you. Explain this whole thing to me. Like, I don't understand this orb.
It's not only that too. It's just like the orb is also just like one of those things that like you know how there's always like that one like object in TV shows where it's just like we don't know what to do with this anymore, so we'll just create like something else to do with it. That's what it feels like to me.
For sure. But yeah, it was a fun one. Well, I shouldn't say fun. It was a good episode. Jarrell came, the clone of Jarrell showed up.
Yeah.
Clark uses a super breath in this episode, which
for like the first time in like 10 years.
Yeah, it's a cool one. Well, what I really like about the way they do the Kandorians is when they first all like get to Earth from the orb, they all pop up around the Earth like in their family crest, which I think is cool.
Yeah, and then don't they all end up gathering in Metropolis, right?
Yeah, well, they all, Zod kind of collects them all.
Yeah, because I know eventually Zod enlists Clark, or is it Feora that enlists Clark to help like the Kandorians?
I think Clark decides that it's the right thing to do.
Okay.
Midway through the season.
Yeah. 8 is Idol. Not a bad one.
That's the Wonder Twin ones, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. It's a bit hokey, but it's the Wonder Twins, so like,
what do you expect? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's a solid one.
9 is probably my favorite of the entire season, and that is Pandora.
Yeah, Pandora's really good.
Because you finally get to see what like Lois saw when she time traveled to the future.
Yeah, they do a good job with the like post-apocalyptic dystopian.
Dude, I was watching it the other day. I was just like, holy shit, they went like there with this, like they literally turned the barn into like a Nazi concentration camp basically. I'm like, holy shit, I don't remember this.
Yeah, and like you see like the city all wrecked and stuff, and they're like, yeah, it looks, that's not the best green screen, but it's also like 2010, like
2009.
Yeah, like but like it's a good one, and I love the ending of it. I also love Oliver in the future, like standing up against like an army of Kandorians flying at him with just a bow and arrow.
The best way to avenge her death is to get that ring.
No, I won't leave her.
She's still alive in the past, Lois. You can save her. You make sure this future never happens and you'll save all of us. You better get going. Clark's heading to the tower. I'll cover you.
Aims the arrow at them.
It just reminds me of like Hawkeye, like we're fighting evil robots in a flying city.
I just love how desperate the episode is too, because they're like, we got to get the Legion ring, send Lois back so that she can warn us in the past about this future that we don't want. Like, it's such a good episode. Like, there's just so much urgency and desperation within the episode. So good, and I love like how like Clark like turned his back on Chloe and Oliver too in the future. He's like, cause like I lost you, Lois. Like I couldn't like face like them, like knowing you were gone or something. Yeah, I think it's probably the most well written episode. One of the best episodes too in terms of like effects, and I mean, yeah, the green screen's a little shoddy, but who cares? Yeah. I tend not to notice.
Scale really well.
Yeah, I tend not to notice that stuff with like the CGIs or the green screens. Like really, you can't really tell, honestly. 10 is Disciple. It's an okay one.
Yeah, with the Dark Archer who's not Merlin. That's a good one. I like Oliver's journey in that one. I also really like the part that stands out for me in that episode is Zod showing up to Lois at the hospital.
And posing as Clark's friend.
Yeah, he's like, I'm his friend, Zod. I'm like, you couldn't come up with like a normal ass name, Zod. Like, just say you're like Zach or something.
And then at the end, like Lois is like, yeah, I had to take a cab back from the hospital, and your friend visited me. He's like, wait, who? She's like, yeah, Zod. I'm like, Lois, there's something extremely weird about that name. Like,
and then I remember he like threatens Zod at the end. He's like, stay the hell away from Lois, man. Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, 11. It says it's listed as only 11.
It is 11 and 12.
I'm counting it as 11 and 12. It is Absolute Justice, Society, and Legends. real like I think this was like 80 minutes.
Yeah,
It
it was like a
was like a
TV
TV
on
movie.
TV. It was a 2-hour movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember it just being like as
Smallville
someone
kind of movie.
back then, like I was really heavily reading DC Comics back then.
Yeah.
So getting to kind of delve into some of that lore and seeing like Hawkman, despite the fact he doesn't look great, but like he looked like he did in the comics.
Dude, I mean, they did what they could for that time.
Yeah, Dr. Fate was awesome. I
Yeah.
thought they
I like
handled Dr.
Stargirl
Fate
a lot
really
too.
well. Stargirl was pretty good. Yep.
I do not like Icicle.
Yeah, Icicle is one of the bad parts of it. Like he's like walks in, he's like, "Anyone up for ice cream?" I'm like, oh, that line would work on a comic panel.
No,
Does
you know
not
where that
work
you know where
out
that
now.
line would work? Batman and Robin.
Robin.
Yeah. Can you imagine Schwarzenegger? Anybody want any ice cream? Yeah.
One of my favorite things about this episode too is they brought back Martian Manhunter.
Yeah.
It like actually like for 5 seconds made him green.
I remember that.
I was like, yeah, John Jones.
Well, dude, I remember the ending too. It has like that long like panning shot. You just see like that shot of like Oliver aiming his bow and arrow, and then like it pans to like I think like Stargirl, and then like I think Clark uses his heat vision, bounces off of like Dr. Fate.
Yeah, but well, yeah, it's Icicle wearing Fate's helmet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like it just
Amazing.
at the time, it like we said before, like this was all pre-Avengers. Like
Yeah,
seeing superheroes team up was like a big thing at the
Like
time.
this was like the like for a long time. This Injustice in season 6 were like the Justice League.
Yeah, they were like
For
the
the
live
longest
action.
time.
The
Yeah.
live action. When people did like fan edits online of like a Justice League movie, they'd use footage from like Smallville. Like to like represent like that, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really cool at the time. Like
Yeah.
I remember just being really enjoying it.
Yeah. 13 is Warrior. I don't really like that one.
Yeah, that's the one where it's like Shazam, but not.
There's two things I remember about this episode. One of them is that Lois cosplays as Wonder Woman, so that's like a cool like little Easter egg.
Yeah.
Then there's also that one hilarious scene where she's dressed as a stormtrooper and she calls Clark. She's like, "Hey Clark, can you go to like my place and like go and get me like a costume?" And she's like, "Where are you? You're late." He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm in the truck." When he's actually like taking down villains, and then he just like there's like that one criminal that's like trying to get away from him while he's on the phone with Lois, and he's like walking like a mile that way, and Clark just like takes a can of soup from the trash, just chucks it at the guy, and it hits him right in the head.
That was great.
Lois.
Clark, where are you?
Look, I'm sorry, I'm late. But, I guess I got caught up with some chores, but I'm in the truck on the way there now.
Oh, good. Can you grab something from my place while you're at it? Check in the closet.
Sure, like you said, I'm already late, so...
I'm cashing in a rain check. You cannot renege on a rain check.
Lois, can I rain check on your rain check?
No, you have been cashing in so many rain checks lately that I am soaking wet with disappointment.
Luckily, I'm driving by the Talon right now, Lois. What do you need?
What was that whooshing sound?
Nothing. I just had the truck window open.
I'm like, oh man. But other than that, the episode, I don't like it. But
Yeah, it's like that kid who becomes Warrior Angel. It's like Shazam, but discount.
And then he has like a huge crush on Chloe.
Yeah, and she's got into him, but I'm like, no, but he's like actually a kid. Yeah, that was an interesting one.
14 was Persuasion.
Look, I don't care about any of this episode except for the last 2 minutes.
The last 2 minutes make it amazing.
Yeah, like the whole other part of the episode is like whatever. It's like the kryptonite, whatever color that is.
Yeah,
like,
I call it pixie dust kryptonite.
Yeah, like makes you have to tell the truth or whatever.
No, it persuades people to do what you want.
What
So
you
like
want.
so like when Clark tells like Lois, he's like, I want like a more like traditional relationship. Like it persuades her to like
Become
get
a housewife.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that part of the episode is like whatever. But I just remember the moment where like Clark finds out what Zod's planning, and all of a sudden the episode is like you hear.
Dude, and then he burns down the towers.
Yeah, he just thought, I'm like, holy shit. Like, he just uses his heat vision. Like, Zod's in the middle of a press opening or whatever. And he's like, this tower is going to have renewable energy or whatever.
All of a sudden he looks up, he's like,
holy, my building's on fire. And then it full on collapses. And Clark's just standing there. And I'm like, wow, that's some bullshit. That's like 9/11 imagery. What are we doing right now? Like, Jesus. Dude, like, it was really shocking,
dude, like,
at the time.
Anything with like the last like 2 minutes of that episode brought the like it went from like 0 to 10.
Yeah, it was really exciting. Like, I was shocked. I was like, because the whole season they're building up this tower. Yeah. And they keep building up like, oh yeah, once that tower turns on, that apocalyptic future is going to happen.
Yeah.
And then in this episode, all of a sudden Clark's like, oh, you were looking forward to that? Too bad. Like, I'm like, oh shit, okay, I guess Zod's not getting his powers.
First rays of the sun fall upon the solar tower tomorrow morning. It will herald the dawn of a new age of infinite power.
Yeah. 15 is conspiracy.
That's the one I was talking about earlier, where all the Kandorians are getting kidnapped.
Yeah.
And they're getting like experimented on, and it's really disturbing.
Has another awesome ending.
Yeah, because Zod gets shot, and then Clark like gives him his blood to heal him. But then when he gave him his blood, it like made Zod. Yeah, so he could all of a sudden at the end of the episode,
off the rooftop and flies.
Well, my favorite moment is he's like talking to Clark on the roof, and Clark's like, "How's your wound?" And he's like, "Oh, it still hurts or whatever." And then the second Clark leaves, he's like, "Whatever." And then he's just like walking, and then he like walks over to this edge, and he's like, "Oh!" And then he like flies, and I'm like, "Whoa!"
I love it when you get like 2 or 3 episodes in a row that just have like awesome endings.
Yeah.
That was one of them.
Yeah, that was a hot streak for the season.
Yeah.
And then the next episode happened.
Which is Escape.
Yeah, not a favorite. I like the little funny stuff between like the two couples being at the like retreat.
Yeah.
But like besides that, I don't care about the Silver Banshee.
I don't either.
I don't like the way they did the Silver Banshee. I'm like not about that episode. It felt like a supernatural episode.
It
like
did.
going to some faraway like retreat. There's some legend of some ghost thing wailing in the woods.
It did. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Like I like little reprieve episodes like that, but like that one's not like a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
Kind of like
17 is Checkmate.
Yeah, where they brought in, I forgot about that in Absolute Justice. They brought
Amanda
in
Waller.
Amanda Waller, played by
Pam Grier.
Pam Grier, yeah, which is like, what? Jackie Brown?
I know.
But like, yeah, she shows up and Checkmate shows up, and they're, of course, an evil secret organization who, one of the funniest, I feel like it comes right out, it must be from the comics, but when they show the headquarters of this place, it is a castle where the towers look like bishops. And they're like, oh, I get it. You're a Checkmate. Oh, I get it. But the thing I liked about it was it introduced characters like, well, you got Amanda Waller, but then you also got Maxwell Lord eventually shows up.
Did you like Maxwell Lord better in this than Wonder Woman 84?
Alistair, where is Alistair? It's good, but it could be better. Yeah. Well, no, because Pedro Pascal is amazing even when he's in a terrible movie.
Yeah.
And I don't remember jack shit about this Maxwell Lord, except he's there and he's got dark hair. But this episode I liked a lot because John Jones showed up.
Yeah.
He did a lot of like phasing through walls and stuff, and I was like, yeah, more Martian Manhunter, please. And then he never came back.
They really did him dirty, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's in the finale, but it's on one of the video cameras. It does not count.
No, it doesn't count. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good episode, I remember. And this was the one too where
Is this where they hint at the Red Queen?
I think so. Yeah, maybe. But also I really like the scene in this episode where Clark busts into the Checkmate headquarters and like the lights are flickering on and off.
Yeah, I love the editing. Oh, it's so good.
So good.
So good.
Come in, White Queen. Come in, White Queen. I'm showing external power breach. Am I clear to shoot? Over.
That's a good one.
18 is Upgrade. Red K episode.
Disappointing episode, I'll tell you that much. I was
pumped. I was
pumped, and then
I gotta say,
you want to fight?
I think people have a problem with the way that they did Red K in this because I feel like people are just like, oh, Clark's not evil enough. I'm kind of okay with like the way he acts in this episode. Because I feel like we're in season 9, like he's more mature. Like I feel like he's more like if he inhales red kryptonite, I feel like he'll be able to control it a little bit more.
Sure.
Yeah,
I wanted to see Cal on a motorcycle with Zod on his back.
Well, dude, and then you also have that line that Lois says in season 10, which makes no sense whatsoever. She's like, "I've seen Clark on Red K. Like it only brings out his inner angst." I'm like, when did you see him on Red K?
Like in season 6, I guess technically, but she doesn't remember any of that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Upgrade was a huge letdown for me. I remember being so excited for this episode because on paper it sounds amazing.
Great. Like they bring Metallo back.
Metallo's back, and Clark gets on red kryptonite and teams up with Zod. I'm like, this is gonna be amazing. And then Metallo was a huge letdown because, like I said, they never even mentioned the connection between him and the Kandorians. And you would think that he'd be like, you know, pissed. And then they also come up with this bullshit chip thing that makes John Corbin like a Terminator. So all of the feelings you felt about him don't matter. And like Zod and Clark's team up isn't as cool as it should be. They use super breath a lot in this episode, so that's
Thank God. After not using it for like 4 seasons.
Like Clark and Zod are standing on like the Seattle Needle or whatever. And they like make it snow. But like it just was such a letdown. I was like, really? Like that's what we get?
I don't think it's like a terrible episode because I don't think any of these episodes are terrible except Escape.
There's definitely worse episodes, but it just was such a letdown for what it could have been.
I know.
Like with the guy, Brian Austin Green, like I don't really know him that well as an actor. I only know him as like Megan Fox's husband or ex-husband or whatever the situation is.
Whatever he is now.
Right. And I never really saw anything with him in it. But like when he was in that first Metallo episode, he's like freaking out. He's like, "Who are you to decide our fates? To change our futures?" I'm like, oh, this guy's like bringing it. And then in this episode, they gave him nothing. They gave him nothing to work with. And then at the end of the episode, they're like, here's a red kryptonite heart. I'm like, what does that mean?
It was just a way to bring Red K in.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I just didn't like it very much.
19 was Charade. That's the one. That's the one where I think Lois goes undercover to take down Maxwell Lord. And then he kidnaps her.
Yes. That's the one where like they're trying to figure out Clark's identity, and then there's like that like computer image.
Yep.
And then he punches through it, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of it's not super memorable. It's got that mayor who was like up in a couple episodes, isn't it?
Yeah, Raymond Sachs.
Raymond Sachs, yeah.
Yeah. I think the Blur is a menace to this city.
Such an original character.
Dude, don't Clark. Is that the episode where Clark and Lois get fired?
I think so.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of the new editor.
Yeah.
How many editors does the Daily Planet go through?
I don't know, man. Grant Gabriel. Grant Gabriel.
I know. Peace, man.
You're up there in clone heaven.
Well, and then he went on to be Jimmy Olsen, CIA agent.
You mean dead Jimmy Olsen? With a hole in his head from a bullet?
20 I really love too. Sacrifice.
Sacrifice was a good one. That was an unexpectedly good one, I remember.
Why should they obey you?
Yeah. Like,
I remember God saying something like that.
I remember not really being that hyped for that episode. And then it kept hitting me with all these surprises.
Feora dies.
Feora dies, which was shocking. And she was pregnant, and Zod realizes that as he killed her.
Wait, you telling me Zod Smallville killed unborn babies before Game of Thrones?
It did indeed. I just remember most about this episode. You see Checkmate guys are doing stuff, and all of a sudden there's this guy standing there with glasses and an eye patch, and I'm like, who the hell is this? Why does he look familiar? And then they're like, Agent Campbell. I'm like, oh, Stuart Campbell.
Oh yeah, dude, let's talk about Stuart Campbell.
He's the most underrated Smallville character. I love that guy, and he's only in 3 or 4 episodes, and he's just Tess's little millennial hacker guy.
Yeah. I bet you by now your hands are really sweaty from typing away at the computer. I forgot. I meant to bring him up earlier. I totally forgot about
I
him.
loved that guy. He was such a good character, and then Tess shoots him in the head or
I
whatever.
remember that.
And then I'm like, oh man, he's dead. That's a shame. And all of a sudden, this he's like, yeah, I'm a serious Checkmate agent now. I'm like, what? And then he died. Though. It's not damn. Because Zod goes to Checkmate and just murders everyone.
Zod was awesome in this season.
Yeah,
man.
He was.
21 was Hostage. That's the one where Martha came back with Perry.
There are parts of it I remember, but a lot of it, especially Martha as the Red Queen, I'm like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like making Aunt May Green Goblin.
Could you imagine?
Or making Aunt May some I don't know, some secret society woman.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Dude, the scene that always gets me is when it's when they're having the dinner with Perry and Martha and Lois and Clark, and then Martha sees Perry come in wearing Jonathan Kent's jacket. I'm like, you get that fucking jacket off right now!
How dare you stand where he stood? Yeah, what I liked about though was, Michael McKean and Annette O'Toole have been married for years.
Yeah, so their chemistry's natural.
Yeah, I really liked them together. I liked the way they brought Perry back, but come on, Perry should have showed up at least 5-10 times.
I know by now,
season 3 and season 9. What the hell?
I know.
This is what brings him back. But yeah, it's an okay one. I just don't like the Martha thing where they're she's got her ascot. And she's got a gun, and I'm like, this isn't Martha. Get out of here. Where's Martha? Because that's not her.
Why did you say that name?
Save Martha from this terrible plot line.
And then 22, the finale, Salvation. Great fucking episode.
I love this one.
Yeah.
It's so good. You got the Kandorians are going to different landmarks and burning Z's into places. Fosoro. Alejandro de la Vega.
Dude, you also have Lois finally finding out that Clark's the Blur.
The Blur. Yeah, okay, yeah. So Zod is pretending for the past few episodes. He's been calling Lois on the phone. Which we haven't gone over, but I really like that whole thing Smallville does for a while.
Well, where he poses as the Blur?
Well, I like the whole thing where Lois, gets calls from the Blur.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's from a telephone booth. I really liked all that. I think that was a nice way of keeping that Superman thing going.
The thing that makes it even better too is when Clark proposes to Lois in season 10. He does it at the phone booth.
Yeah, I like that a lot. But yeah, Zod's pretending to be Clark, pretending to be the Bleu, and he like tricks Lois, and then like Lois realizes she kisses him because she kissed the Blur one time,
Yeah.
and was that it? Or I think she just realizes it ain't him.
No. There, so like in Idol, like when she was talking to the Blur, he like it was still Clark, but he was using like the voice changer, and then Chloe like edited out the voice changer like too early, so Lois thought it was Clark then,
Yeah.
and then something happened where she was like second guessing whether or not it was him.
Yeah.
But then when Zod's posing as him for the second half of the season, like she's trying to get the Book of Ra while Clark's trying to like help the Kandorians and all that. And then she finally gets the Book of Ra, and Clark finally becomes like starts talking to her as the Blur again. So that's when he pulls her into the shadows, kisses her, and then that's when she realizes it's Clark.
It's Clark. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like the moment where like Zod like throws her through like the
Oh,
telephone
yeah.
booth, and then Clark just comes up and like Falcon punches Zod like
Falcon punch!
and then he like catches Lois, and like it's cool, and like a lot of the other stuff this episode, like Zod and Tess's relationship finally comes to a head where he just like Harvey Dents her. He just like burns her face with heat vision. I'm like, Jesus.
And then you have like Granny Goodness, who we didn't know was Granny Goodness at the time, sitting outside of her hospital.
The moment I remember watching the finale, and there's like this old woman with like knitting. I'm like, what the hell is this?
I know, I remember that. I was like, who the hell is this supposed to be?
And then I was thinking like, oh my god, they wouldn't do Granny Goodness. They're not gonna do Dark Side on this show. And then when they announced Dark Side, I was like, that was Granny Goodness. Yeah, you have a lot of cool stuff in this episode. I remember like how intense it was when Oliver is like crawling through the vents and something.
Yeah, Chloe, I can't get out. They're coming for me. Wait, what?
That's the reasoning for it though kind of is anticlimactic in the season 10. It's kind of like, oh, like I thought that was parademons or something, and then it's like, oh no, it's just Rick Flag. I'm like,
yeah. It was cool though to see the Suicide Squad.
Yeah. We'll get to them a bit more in 10, but yeah, it was a really good finale. I love, like we talked about the fight earlier between Clark and Zod was super satisfying. I loved the way that Clark
fell off the building.
Yeah, like he stabs himself with the knife, like risking his own death. Yeah, and then falls off, and then Zod is away from the kryptonite, so he gets sucked up. And right before that, he finally is like, near before Zod, and then it's like you get sucked up, and I'm like, oh my god, that was amazing. Like I remember afterward being like, what a crazy finale.
You will lead from the throne, not from the shadows. Every human, including the woman you love, will kneel before Zod. You already destroyed my first home. I won't let you take this one.
I know, yeah, like
It's better than Henry James Olsen dying.
Didn't quite reach those heights, right?
Yeah.
Just kidding. Yeah, dude, I really love 9, honestly. Like there's like I don't think there's a bad episode. I mean, Escape
Upgrade.
Upgrade's decent to me. Like it's tolerable. I mean, Escape's probably the only bad one for me. But like the rest of them are like either mediocre to like good, and then like even the mediocre ones sometimes get like elevated to a great episode because of how they end.
Did you say they get upgraded?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's just 9 is one of the best seasons for sure.
Yeah,
It's one of the most consistent. The plot's one of the best.
I think it's my favorite season, honestly.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I just love how nobody is in a good spot to begin the season. Just Zod coming back I was so skeptical at first, and then they managed to pull it off.
They really did.
I just love how dark this season is. I love that we're actually starting to progress Clark towards becoming Superman in this season.
Well, I think the darkness of this season and the direction they took things, I think was necessary for the way they handle his final steps in 10,
Yeah.
where the whole kind of theme of 10 is very much like step out of the darkness and go into the light. Like,
Right.
so I
Right.
think this season set that up really well.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's our review for season 9. Do you have any other thoughts on season 9?
No.
I think I'm good too. Yeah.
Kneel before Zod. I don't know.
Listen to "I Will Not Bow" by Breaking Benjamin. That's it. So that's our review for season 9, guys. Pat, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at @ThisPatGuy. You can also listen to Alex and I's Star Wars podcast, Jabba's Palace, and also our unnamed podcast, which hopefully by this point has a name.
I said we just keep it untitled. Just do Untitled Movie Podcast. You can find me on my official website, alexmaddenmovies.mystrikingly.com. All my social media links are there. You guys are the best. That was Pat. I'm Alex. We'll see you guys at the movies somewhere.